Welcome back to Morbidium, where the stories don't fade, they linger. Last season, we walked through the shadows, unsolved disappearances, fractured timelines, unanswered questions that still echo through the dark. But this season, we go deeper into the files that were closed too soon, the voices that were silenced, the truths that were buried beneath over fear and time. This isn't just true crime, it's the anatomy of what lingers after. Every case we tell carries weight for the victims, for the families, and for the communities left searching for peace. And as our audience continues to grow, so does our responsibility to tell these stories with integrity, empathy, and relentless curiosity. Season 3 is about unfinished business, cold cases that refuse to stay cold, mysteries that unravel when you pull the loose thread, and the chilling realization that sometimes the most terrifying thing isn't what happened, it's what didn't. So dim the lights, lock the doors, and lean in close, because the truth is out there, and we're not done looking. This is Morbidium.
All right, so today we're diving into something, well, let's just say it's not your average bedtime story. This one took place on February 16th of 2009 in Stamford, Connecticut. A 200-pound chimpanzee named Travis did something that turned a quiet neighborhood afternoon into absolute chaos. And I mean chaos with a capital C. He attacked Charla Nash, a friend of his owner, leaving her disfigured, blind, and basically changing the conversation on exotic pets across the country.
It's one of these stories you tell your friends, and they're like, wait, that really happened? Like, this is a true event? But this one it did happen. And the thing about Travis is he wasn't a wild animal that in the way of saying that he you came across him in the savannah. He had been brought up as a pet. He was born in 1995 in Missouri, and when he was 3 days old, he was taken from his mother, and they sold him for $50,000 to Sandra and Jerome Harold. Like, that's what they did. That was the ethics that they had. And suddenly his whole life was in someone else's hands, this poor little baby primate.
I mean, the Heralds, well, they didn't just keep him like a pet in the typical sense. They went full on human child mode. He wore clothes, he was brushing his teeth, drinking wine out of a stemmed glass, and eating lobster at the dinner table. He would sit and watch baseball on TV, and they'd even taught him how to drive a car. And he was also in TV commercials. I mean, the kid, or should I say Chimp, was pretty much living the dream.
Right. And I do want to point out before we go further that for me, owning an exotic pet is the definition of pet roulette. It's play stupid games, win stupid prizes. These animals that are not meant to be kept as companion pets, they can become very unpredictable, very volatile. And if you are willing to roll the dice every single day that you own that exotic pet, that you you need to realize that this is the chance you're taking. There's a chance you're going to win this stupid prize. So, um, his story gets a little more surreal after the Herald's daughter died in a car crash in 2000. So now we've got this exotic primate. And then Jerome passed away from cancer in 2004. And they have feelings, complex feelings. And Sandra really started leaning into the whole Travis is my son thing. She even shared a bed with this chimp. So by the time of the attack, everyone around them thought he was harmless because he had been her quote unquote baby. Uh, Cute, maybe, funny, maybe a little eccentric, but harmless, right? No, 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 guys. This was not harmless. This was so bad. It went so bad so quickly.
And that brings us to the event of February 16th. And on that day, it's been said that Travis was agitated. So Sandra tried to calm him down with some Xanax laced tea. And he was also on a separate medication for Lyme disease. But apparently, it wasn't enough. I mean, he grabbed her car keys and ran outside. So naturally, 70-year-old Sandra did the first thing she could think of, and she called her longtime friend, Charla Nash, and asked her if she would come and help get Travis back inside. Because, well, everyone thinks he's safe, this harmless child. So why not ask for your friend's help?
I'm doing the face palm, literally. So Charla shows up armed with this Tickle Me Elmo doll, which was said to be Travis's favorite. She's thinking, all right, let's get this big guy back indoors. But something went terribly wrong, because if it hadn't gone terribly wrong, we wouldn't even be talking about this now, right? We don't know what happened. If the combination of drugs in this animal system triggered this, we don't know what happened, but wild animals be wildin'. So we don't know for sure. What we do know is that the 14-year-old Chimp, who was overweight, he was fucking ripped. He had the grip strength of a hydraulic press. He was strong enough for sure to pick up an adult human like a rag doll. He charges her, slams her against the car, and throws her to the ground. And that was just the beginning.
Yeah. And I want to point out that what happened next lasted for 12 minutes. And 12 minutes doesn't sound like a long time until you hear what she endured during that time. And it was frankly hell on earth. I mean, Travis tore into her face, her eyelids, nose, lips, jaw, all gone. She was scalped. Most of her head was gone.
Mm.
Both of her eyes were damaged and left infected, and she was left permanently blind because of that. And then her hands, one was completely severed, and in total, she lost 9 of her fingers. There was chimp hair and broken teeth embedded in her bones. That's how brutally she was attacked. And when paramedics arrived on the scene, they described it like a machine shop accident. And most people probably haven't, but I know quite a few of us have seen those images, and they're not pretty. And then, if you want the cherry on top, some reports, and again this is unclear, claim that Travis actually began eating parts of her. Now, we can't confirm that, but I mean, it gives you the sense of just how catastrophic this whole thing was.
So Sandra tried everything. She tried hitting him with a shovel over the head. She stabbed him with a butcher knife in the back 3 times. One witness said Travis even seemed to glance at Sandra as if to say, like, Mom, what did you do? Now, oh my goodness. Yeah, my dogs aren't happy about this one. I gotta pause.
Oh, yeah, they're making a scene when animals attack.
Oh my gosh. Are you fucking kidding me? You guys, come here. Code green, man. Come on. Stand down. Let your dogs in the office, they said. It'll be fun, they said. Yeah.
This one's just all about animals going crazy.
I guess so, man. And mine are going ballistic. Okay. So we'll start this one again. I'm trying to wait for them to really settle. Um, I can start again. So Sandra tried everything. She tried hitting him with a shovel over the head. She stabbed a butcher knife into his back 3 times. One witness said Travis even seemed to glance at them and be like, "Mom, what did you do?" Now, obviously, that's more speculation than science, but really, it's the terror of it that we're pointing out. Like, imagining that split-second pause of him seeming to like mull this around in his brain. That's chilling. And then, of course, there's the 911 call. That call alone, you said the pictures, but that 911 call makes my skin crawl. Sandra's screaming, "He's killing my friend. He's ripped her face off. He's eating her. Like that to me was horrific."
And here's the kicker. I mean, even after all of that, it wasn't over. When the police arrived, Travis, who was obviously covered in blood, he turned and he charged at the police cruiser and left one of the officers no choice but to fire 4 times. Travis ran back inside the house, collapsed near his cage, and that's where he died. I mean, he just collapsed after all of that. And I can only imagine the scene. It must have felt like absolute chaos.
Absolute chaos is happening here at my house too. Um, Probably not to that degree. No, very much not to that degree. But my dogs would have you think so. Um, Charlotte was rushed to Stanford Hospital, then airlifted to Cleveland Clinic. After 7 hours of emergency surgery in the first 3 days alone, then dozens of reconstructive procedures over the next 15 months. Um, Finally, by 2011, she got a full face transplant at Brigham and Women's. I do not have that hospital spelled out in front of me. It says she got a full face transplant, but I guess there's a typo in my article. At Brigham and Women's Hospital, the first of its kind for a chimp attack victim. They also, I'm going to start from the top. You guys, shut the hell up. Is that called Brigham and Women's Hospital?
I think so. I mean, that's the way it was when I was doing my research.
Okay. Meanwhile, Charlotte was rushed to Stanford Hospital, then airlifted to the Cleveland Clinic. 7+ hours of emergency surgery in the first 3 days alone. Dozens of reconstructive procedures over the next 15 months, guys. And finally, in 2011, she got a full face transplant. That was done at Brigham Women's Hospital, the first of its kind for a chimp attack victim. They had never done a face transplant like that for this situation. They also tried a double hand transplant, but it failed due to infection and pneumonia. To this day, she is still blind, but remarkably, she's living quietly and helping others and almost having the same recovery as a soldier who has suffered from catastrophic facial injuries. And that makes her a hero in that regard, if you ask me.
Now, I do think we should quickly see what Sandra was doing after all of this. And it has been said she never emotionally recovered after seeing what she classed as her child attacking her friend. However, it appears she didn't learn a lesson because she did go on to get another chimp who was called Chance. However, luckily, the new laws at the time in Connecticut meant she couldn't legally keep him at her home. So, I mean, at least history couldn't repeat itself. Sandra died at the age of 72 in 2010 from a ruptured aortic aneurysm, and her lawyer actually said that she was heartbroken. But obviously, though they suggested it, it's just speculation that that was a contributing factor to her like medical history and what caused her death.
Well, I'm just every time we talk about this, I'm just in shock. Like, if one of my animals hurt one of my dearest friends, I don't know that I would ever be able to socially bond with an animal of that type again. Maybe I could, I don't know. But that she would just go get another chimp after, um the fallout of this, though, Travis's story sparked this nationwide conversation about exotic pets. Connecticut ended up banning primates over 50 pounds, which, as Ali said, likely kept history from repeating itself. Around 20 other states followed suit with similar laws. And let's not forget, there was an officer who shot Travis, and he suffered PTSD, like severe emotional symptoms afterwards. And it's one of those stories that just keeps echoing with that ripple effect in different ways.
I mean, it absolutely does. And you just have to think about the surreal life that Travis had. I mean, drinking wine, eating lobster, driving a car. He was living a better life than I am. I don't get to eat lobster. But then in just one afternoon, like, everything changes forever. This one really is a mix of horror, tragedy, and just mind-boggling disbelief. And the fact that Charla survived and even found ways to help others afterwards, it's it's basically it's miraculous.
Yeah, and stories like this, it makes you think twice about the exotic pets. Thank goodness, like we've had all of this. Um, I hate to say the Tiger King was part of it, but people truly did not realize how dangerous it could be to have these animals um, in the pet trade until stories like this came out, until, stories about Travis and Tiger King. There's a reason that animals should not live in suburban backyards, no matter how much you love them. And that fine line between visually being adorable but physically being terrifying, Travis crossed that in a way that, while you could say no one predicted, I bet that there are some animal experts out there who would say, we could have told you that would happen. So, yeah, that's, it's just
I,
unbelievable.
I mean, yeah, this is one of those cases where it does put things into perspective. We all know that. I mean, it it's pretty obvious that this sort of situation is very possible. This is a actual wild animal. This isn't a domesticated pet that's been domesticated over generations and generations. But at the same time, I personally am 100% guilty of sitting here watching things like Tiger King and going, I would have a tiger. Or, yep, I definitely want a brown bear. They look like they would give the best hugs. But then you see these types of cases and it puts it in like a real life perspective, and you go off and you listen to that 911 call. You look at the images of Charla now and what she went through and all of those surgeries. And you see how gruesome it is. You see how tragic it is. It becomes it's a case that makes you get out of the fantasy of how exciting it would be to keep these types of pets and brings to the forefront the consequences of treating wild animals like children. And let's be honest, sometimes life's darker side, I mean, it really does sneak in where, again, I was about to say where you'd least expect it, or where people ignore the warning signs and should expect it.
I couldn't have said it better myself. So, for anyone listening, take a moment to appreciate just how strange, complicated, and terrifying the natural world can be, especially when we as humans blur the lines between pet and predator.
And, as serious as we try to be with this case, I just keep sitting here imagining this chimp eating lobster at a dinner table, wearing clothes, drinking wine, driving a car. I mean, I want to see that, but it's still ridiculous. And then from that, in one afternoon, everything just went to absolute hell.
Yeah, and people always ask, like, why did he attack? And I've said, like, nobody knows who knows why he did it. Wild animals, because they have these predatory instincts, they could have a splinter in their foot and suddenly become vicious. And it's that way no matter what pet you have. You don't know how your dog is going to behave when they're injured or sick or with somebody that they've never been before. I couldn't tell you that. I know that my dogs are, friendly to me. They're friendly to our family, that they've never hurt anyone. Do I know what would happen if they were scared or had gotten into medication that hadn't been studied specifically on dogs and maybe the wiring in their brain went a little off? I don't know. Um, we all have these kind of days, but when you have exotic animals, especially big primates and large cats, they can become catastrophic quickly.
I mean, I know just myself, I have normal, not big cats, little devil house cats. And I have one in particular whose favourite thing to do is click her claws on things that aren't for claw clicking. And she gets stuck. The scars I have from trying to free her from her own stupidity. And that's an actual house pet who doesn't know how to function in any other way than expecting me to do everything for her. So to try and ask questions like why would this wild creature react this way? I mean, why wouldn't it? It's part of its nature to the slightest thing makes it feel threatened or medication makes it feel off balance. I know how grumpy I get when I haven't took my medication.
Right?
So I mean, there's no clear answer other than this animal was put in a situation it should never have been in. And that leads me to one of the things that really does stick in my head because we're talking about a wild animal that doesn't understand what a pet should be or what human cues are. But yet, the statement that he looked at Sandra during the attack, like you said, where, almost like he was thinking, Mom, what did I do? I mean, could he really have thought that? I mean,
Mm.
probably not. But imagining it or knowing that this animal, even if he wasn't thinking that in particular, feeling that pain coming from someone who'd cared for him. I mean, in reacting, it is the kind of thing that does stick in your head. I mean, human or chimp, there's a weird blur when you think about a wild animal who was pretty much raised as though he was human.
Yeah, and what I can't shake, like I've said, that 911 call, that's rough to listen to. Just hearing Sandra screaming, the panic, you cannot unhear that. You know that she thought her friend was gone already, but some people call it that once in a lifetime nightmare. And I think once in an eternity nightmare kind of fits better. And then you add that the police shot Travis and he collapsed. The whole situation, from the dispatcher taking the phone call to the officer showing up and being like, I have not been trained for this, it just becomes surreal.
And then it takes we back to the main point I think that this case brings we to, and that is exotic pet laws. I mean, we all joke about cute little chimps or me with my bear hugs. And I mean, that's acceptable. But the reality, I mean, you don't raise a 200-pound wild animal in your living room and sleep with it in your bed and really expect nothing to happen. I mean, there's always going to be a really fine line between human and wild when we come to these types of animals. And sadly, in this case, it was Charla who paid the ultimate price.
And yet she did survive. I mean, the face transplant, which is modern science, working miracles, trying to get her hands back, still trying to help people. It's astonishing. And it makes you realize that even when life, guys, forgive me, literally tears you apart, like there's somehow this thread of hope. And she turned that horror into something meaningful.
I mean, yeah, and it makes you pause and think about the balance between love and respect. Just because you adore a creature doesn't mean it's safe to treat it like a toddler. Again, because my brain doesn't acknowledge this part, you know, treating it like a person and giving it wine and lobster while I sit here with my kind of cheap beer and a packet of crisps. Um, I mean, when we come to Travis, this just proves that some instincts don't go away. And he was like, he really did remind everyone that a wild animal is always a wild animal in the most brutal way imaginable.
So, guys, that's the story of Travis and Charla Nash, a tale of love, tragedy, and the limits of human control over the wild. February 16th, 2009, a day that will haunt Stamford forever.
Yeah, dark, tragic, terrifying, and somehow still fascinating when you look at it deeper. I mean, let this one be a reminder that wild animals may look cute and cuddly, but underneath, nature is always going to be in charge.
We hope you guys enjoyed this deep dive and maybe learned a little something about exotic pets, these human animal bonds. I hope we've encouraged you to go out and learn a little bit more about these exotic pets before you start bringing them home. Uh, and the thin line between chaos and care, guys.
Yeah, and if you were in any way, shape, or form thinking about or considering adopting a £200 chimp, let this one be a sign that maybe just don't.
I'm pretty sure that wine drinking, lobster eating, car driving chimp is not covered under my homeowner's insurance policy here. So I'm out.
Yeah, I think this one lets you know that it's lesson learned.
Stay safe out there, folks, and keep your Tickle Me Elmo dolls far away from anything with teeth that is 4 times your weight.
If this episode stayed with you, make sure you're following Morbidium so you never miss a story. And if you have a moment, leave a rating and review. It truly helps us reach more listeners and keeps these names from being forgotten. Share this episode with someone who cares about this truth. The more we talk about these cases, the harder they are to ignore. Thank you for spending your time with us, for listening with empathy, and for being part of a community that values justice over spectacle. Until next time, stay curious and stay compassionate.